Okay, so I beat Sonic Forces today. And firstly, I'm going to give my spoiler free thoughts about it. Then I'll give you guys some more details. After all of our anticipation, guessing, criticisms, everything's come down to this. Who was right about Sonic Forces? The optimists that hoped it would be good, or the skeptics that saw the trailers and the gameplay and guessed they wouldn't like it? And I'm here to say that neither was wrong. None of the parties were right either, because Sonic Forces takes you on a satisfaction roller coaster. Every character is written pretty well, but not to their full potential. Sonic is portrayed appropriately. Tails is as confusingly obsessed with Sonic as always. Every character is the same, but to a higher potential, to how smart and efficient they could be in Sonic Force's situations. Even Amy impressed me at some point, but only because I didn't think she could do certain things, and she ended up being a very useful character. Now, that's not to say how I generally felt about each character. To be honest, there aren't really a lot of emotional attachments like you'd expect there to be in some kind of post apocalyptic Sonic game. Everybody's just doing their job and they're just there. Sonic is just passing by most of the time, or he's MIA. Seriously, he's MIA just randomly, and some characters are so misinformed as to where he is, they just make up excuses. There's certain parts where a character says something, and I'm just sitting there like, why would you say that? That is not happening at this moment at all. I feel like the writers just wanted to construct something that made sense and for it to be spelled correctly and said correctly, not for it to make total sense. There are certain emotions that arise in the story, but kind of out of nowhere and prematurely. There are climaxes that happen that end literally 5 seconds later. It's a huge climax to the story, and there's no time for it to sink in at all. Here's an example. Oh no, Rachel lost an arm! How are we ever gonna get our team back together? 5 seconds later. Well, I just made this robotic arm for Rachel. Well, I guess it doesn't matter then, right? Sonic Team? It just doesn't matter. I was just sitting there, just like with my mouth open for all the wrong reasons when it came to the story alone. The presentation in Sonic Forces was subpar. It was kind of forgettable. And in some parts, it was awesome, and some parts, it was not so great. I feel like the Sonic team just tried not to mess up. Like, that was their goal with this game. It's like someone was over their head just saying, don't mess up, all right? Just don't mess up. And instead of making something different and impressive, they just made something that just wasn't bad. But I can't even use that term to explain how I feel about Sonic Forces. I just can't say, oh, it's not bad. Not bad, because that could mean something like unique to it. But Sonic Force's presentation was okay to pretty good sometimes. The overall story was just so predictable, and at certain points, it admitted how predictable it was, but that didn't help the fact that it was just completely predictable. And that's in terms of the general story. But when it came to its gameplay, that's when sometimes it would just pull a 180 on you. Literally, sometimes you just go backwards and it'd just be a completely different stage. There were a few stages that were really good. In fact, I'll probably remember 2 or 3 of those stages for the rest of my life, just because they were that special. But for the rest, 80% of the stages, they were short. Some stages were less than 1 minute, and those were like the extra missions, but some stages were just over 1 minute, like 1 minute and 15 seconds. Now, this is a little bit of a spoiler in the non-spoiler part, but the casino stage, which we all know is going to be in any Sonic game, is only 2 minutes and change long. It's a casino stage. Those are supposed to be the longest Sonic stages, and it is only 2 minutes long. I couldn't freaking believe that. It's a casino stage. It is made to be long, and it wasn't. In every other Sonic game, it is at least like 7 to 10 minutes. Something like that. So it was a bunch of slow gameplay for 2 minutes. That's it. But besides that casino stage, let me tell you about how most of the stages ran. So there are platforming segments to all the characters. The Custom Hero, Modern Sonic, and Classic Sonic. Now, Classic Sonic, I think, had okay platforming. But in his stages, there are some platforming segments that had absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the stage. Here's an example. You would go up a ramp, and above you, there are two revolving platforms that lead nowhere. They're just revolving to have you collect rings, as if rings matter in hard mode or the default mode that they put you in. And sometimes there would just be invincibility at the very end of the stage. Why the heck would I need invincibility at the end of the stage? And also, here's proof that the stages were very short. The speed up was probably only present in a few stages. I've only seen it in like 2 or 3 stages, but every time I got it, and I counted every time, it only lasted for 6 to 8 seconds. It's 6 or 8 seconds of speed up, and the music speeds up. So this is how my first experience with the speed up was. So it sped up, and the music was like, dun, 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 you know, that terrible classic Sonic music. By the way, classic Sonic had like the worst music. You could tell they just didn't want to sit down and do it. They were just like, oh, do we really have to make 8-bit music right now? It was very uninspired music. I have to say that. I'm sorry. It was like a smack in the face to like 2D Sonic fans, like in any regard. Sonic Generations, I know I'm using another game, but that's a game the same team supposedly made. It had like much better music than this game. This game had ugly classic Sonic music. And just classic Sonic music. So the music would speed up on my first try with the speed up ability. It sped up for like a few seconds and then it slowed back down. I actually thought it was a glitch. I thought, oh wow, you know, I guess, that's a weird glitch. But no, I actually started to slow down and I fell to my death because I was slowing down. I thought it was a glitch. That's how short it was. In fact, I don't even know why they have the speed up in there, just to have it in Sonic Forces. And also, the invincibility really didn't matter sometimes. It really didn't help. It seriously just did. It was just there. It felt like it was just there to be there. It didn't lend anything to the stage at all. Sometimes the platforming segments didn't lend anything to the stage. I would just jump over all of them and just reach my destination faster. Instead of just slowing down, waiting for the stupid platform to get there, I would just jump over all of them, do a clear jump. Because for some reason, classic Sonic's, or every character's jumps, when you go just a little fast, you can just clear such a huge area. Now, those are the only real complaints I have about classic Sonic. With the Avatar, his weapons are pretty cool, I have to admit. The base weapons you get are nice. The whip is alright. I actually use that less than any weapon because I was scared I was going to fall off of a stage. Because every time you whip, you hurl forward. And at one point, there was just a platform. It was a huge platform. And I snapped my whip at a few enemies. And I just fell over with the enemies. There's no safety for some weapons. The cube, I didn't even bother with the cube because I played it in the demo. And that's pretty much all you need to know about the cube. It just completely stops you in your tracks and forces you to watch this animation that makes all the enemies a cube. And then you need to do it again. It's like you stop the gameplay and then you force yourself to stop the gameplay again. That's pretty much what the cube is. So I skipped it completely. I didn't use it once. And that's another thing. There are only 5 Wispins in Sonic Forces. 5 base Wispins, and then you get more Wispins with add-ons. Now, there's an add-on that is the most terrible thing. I call it the Sonic 06 add-on. Pretty much, it tries to add a Sonic Mania-esque ability to your character. When you jump and he lands, he automatically goes fast. You don't have to hold the jump button like you do with Sonic Mania, with classic Sonic. Usually you would just have to press jump and then press it again and hold it so you can do the dash. But with this effect that comes with some of your Wispins, you just have to freaking jump and move. And you go so fast. I guarantee you will fall off of any platform that you're on. I don't know what stages that Wispin effect is for. Probably the running stages for the Avatar, but there's barely any running stages. There's like running for 5 seconds and then you automatically go to platforming. So if you jump and move at the same time, I'm talking about just press it really quick and just move a little bit, you'll just zoom forward. That's probably the worst thing I've seen in a video game, like for the past 5 years. I'm actually amazed how terrible that effect is and how they didn't think about, is there a chance if they move a centimeter and they also press jump, which you usually do in the game, that they'll fall off? Because sometimes you have to dodge while jumping. I found myself, for the 2 minutes I used that in total, falling off of a bunch of platforms every 30 seconds. I would respawn and then fall off a platform. There was no way that I was going to get used to that Wispin effect. It was just nonsensical. I didn't know what it was meant for. Maybe to emulate the classic Sonic's jump dash, but it was even worse. They could have at least let us press A twice and then hold it. I can't believe that exists in the game. So besides those unbalanced Wispins, there's modern Sonic. A lot of people say that Modern Sonic is just boost to win and that his stages are very linear and that sometimes it's really hard to tell where you have to go because everything goes too fast. They're right about some parts, but they're not right about the boost to win because I found myself having to stop and thinking about where I needed to use my boost. So Modern Sonic's gameplay was good in that way where they didn't allow you to really spam the boost so you could just go to the goal automatically. But there were some parts where they pretty much force you to use the boost. I would find the Wispin boost and I'd be like, oh, well, I wonder what I have to do in this part of the stage. And I wouldn't do it. I would just try to get through the stage without boosting because I wanted to be free and to play this game. But I would end up just needing to use the boost because there were like 20 enemies aligned. And there's no way I'm going to get through that stage and get a good score without using boost. So I would use the boost, and as simple as that, it would be an illogical part of the stage where I just have to press X, and I'm just forced to do this thing that I don't want, which is kind of like Sonic Unleashes QuickTime events, where you're just forced to do it, and you're just forced to feel this one thing towards this one action. And that's what those boost parts are. You're just forced to do it. There are some parts where you don't have to do the boost, and you can do it, and they're really awesome. But for the most part in Modern Sonic stages, there's some parts where you're just forced to use the boost. Also, people are right about the linear stages for Sonic. Most of the game felt linear to me. In Green Hill Zone, there's like different tracks you could take. That first level is pretty much the only really vastly different trail that you can take with Modern Sonic. There's not really another stage where you could just go somewhere completely different based on where you decide to trail off to. And also, there are certain stages that just don't feel finished. They just end abruptly. You just stop awkwardly sometimes in front of nothing. You're just sitting there, and then sometimes it has to load the goal screen, so you're just looking at a wall, and then it's like, couldn't they just add some kind of goal, some kind of epic goal there, like me, instead of a Dr. Robotnik face or whatever they have, or just nothing. Sometimes it's just you run off into the distance and you would think the stage is going to go on for longer, but it just doesn't. The stage just ends, and that's how it's supposed to end. Just you running off into the distance. I actually was waiting for it to start up again. Characters just kept on running into the distance, and all of a sudden the score screen popped up, and that's when you know. Okay, so a lot of people talk about the level design. Pretty much the level design is meh. Like I said, there are some parts of it and the classic Sonic stages that they're just platforms hovering for no reason. I don't know if they're going to add something or if they discluded something, but I wasn't impressed at all. Now I'm comparing this to like a 10-year-old or 15-year-old game that I just played like last week or something like that. I know I'm comparing it to another game, but that game is old as heck, and this is probably some of the laziest platforming I've ever experienced. This is how you know it's lazy. I didn't feel like it was lazy. I just knew while I was playing it, I didn't feel anything, guys. I was like, man, after I'm done with this game, I'm gonna eat ramen. I felt more happy about freaking eating ramen than I did playing this game. I felt nothing while playing the game, while the storyline was going. I didn't feel anything. It was just not impressive. It didn't pull any strings. There were no emotions. Seriously, there was hardly any emotions. There was just monologue after monologue. Sonic would say something predictable, and he would admit that it's predictable, and then Eggman would say something predictable. Seriously, there's no one that surprises you. Infinite, also, I forgot to talk about him. Notice how I forgot to talk about Infinite, guys. What do you think that means? Infinite is forgettable as well. He's disappointing. His boss battles were great, though. I love the boss battles for Infinite. In the game, Infinite was a good boss, I have to admit. But there's one part, also with another issue that I have with this game. This game has a lot of copy and paste. There are actually sound effects that are recycled from the last games. There are bosses recycled from the last games. And I'm talking about copy and paste, guys. Their motions are recycled. It's exactly the same as Generations sometimes. And Generations was a short game, and they copied a lot of assets from that game. Like the architecture of some stages were just like Generations. Like some assets were put together from different parts of Generations, and it just looked ugly. Like some stages were actually ugly. It didn't look very interesting. There were background animations in it, and it was just like wallpaper. I lost interest in what was going on in the background. There's supposed to be so much going on in this game at a grand scale, at an epic scale, and some people said they did it well. For some of the parts, they did do it well. I have to admit, like, it felt like there was a lot going on, but for most of the game, it didn't feel like there was much going on. It felt like there was just a war going on somewhere else. Like you weren't in it. There was just people talking in your ear. By the way, every time you die from something that you can't control, like a jump that is impossible because jumps jumps in this game are not very good. You have to hear the characters speak every time you get reborn. I wasn't annoyed by it. I like their voices. I like the characters' voices, but I just started to laugh and just shake my head because I'm just like, don't they know that you're just gonna hear these characters every time you come back to life? And here's proof that you're gonna die a lot. The fact that they give you infinite lives in this game. You have infinite lives. And I have to admit, if I didn't have those infinite lives, I would have had to restart probably 20 times because of those parts of the game that I couldn't control because of the jump or because of a Wispin effect or something like that. Like the Wispin effect that enabled me to run ultra fast as soon as I landed, which I died probably 15 times in 1 minute from that Wispin effect. And I would have lost all of my lives. If I earned any lives and then it was taken away because of these defects of Wispin add-ons and these dumb jumps, I would have probably hated this game. And I think the developers knew that if you added something that you were earning to something that you couldn't control, it would have definitely got like a 2 out of 10 or people would have hated it. But thankfully you did have infinite lives. So, you can overlook all these dumb things, right? No. I'm actually going to pretend that you do earn things and you feel like you're earning something, and this game takes it away for no reason at all. Just because of, I have to say, lazy level design, the copy and paste thing they have going on. I didn't like any of that copy and paste. I just didn't feel much for this game. I was excited sometimes. There are 1 or 2 or maybe 3 stages. And by the way, a lot of stages get reused. I hope I didn't spoil much. I'm just trying to say like the aspects that are in the game that you should already know are in the game. So I'm honestly saying I just didn't feel much, and I understand why people are saying it's mediocre. Now, the game isn't bad. There are some aspects that are bad, like the storyline, the cheesiness. I feel like it was cheesy on purpose. I feel like they wanted it to be cheesy. Like they were trying to make it a Sonic title, so they wanted it by at least the end to be some kind of cheesy, and it felt like it was just forced to be cheesy. Like they didn't have to go that route. They could have easily just not went that route, but I think the story would have been too dark in a way. Here's another thing that people are talking about. The story is very dark. I don't really think it is. I just think it's like realistic, like what Eggman wanted and how his vision looks. It showed how a superior Eggman acts and what he does. But sadly, the story is predictable in every single turn, except for some things that surprise you because of how kind of poorly the story is told. The way it happens, like with the Shadow DLC, which I'm not going to give any details, by the end, I didn't know why I played the Shadow DLC. I was totally confused, and it didn't explain anything as to what happens and what he has to do with anyone. It was just 3 stages. There was kind of story details given, which by the way, just took away from a character. It did nothing but make a character look so bad and so cannon fodder. And at one point, seriously, in the story, Sonic says cannon fodder. I'm just like, what the heck? It's like they knew the story was cheesy. They knew the story was predictable. And they used all of those words. At some point, I was just like saying something out loud, and then Sonic literally says it out loud. But it's not good that he said it out loud, It's just like there's so much almost fourth wall breaking aspects to the story that are just not good. It's like the developers and producers knew that the story was predictable, cheesy, cannon fodder. It was just, oh boy. So if anybody's saying, oh, well, you're such a fanboy, you're probably going to play this game and love it. I didn't love it. In fact, I just can't wait for Doom, so I'll stop crying on the inside. I'm sorry, guys. I can't recommend this game. But if you do want a copy and paste Sonic Generations on the Nintendo Switch to play on the go, I fully recommend it because there's going to be some part of you that's going to be like, oh man, I really want to play Sonic going super fast on my Switch, and you're going to appreciate it. But even with that sentiment, you're not going to appreciate it for long. Sadly, the stages are going to get old because they are linear and they're not made very well. They're not going to piss you off. They're just not going to make you take the game seriously. I didn't take probably 88% of this game seriously. There are certain boss battles that impressed me. There are certain stages that impressed me. And so right now, I'm just going to give it a score that I think is appropriate to it because as a game itself, it has standards. As a game, the story has standards. The story did not live up to my most basic standards, guys. I just had a standard of, hey, there's a climax. Let the climax sink in. There are no climaxes in this game that sink in. Everything is just told and then taken away and then something else is given to you. Like it doesn't matter. Like nothing matters. I get it. Nothing really matters. I get it. There are ways to joke around about things and to make little about some things, things, but they made little of their storytelling. I couldn't even appreciate their storytelling. And this isn't a spoiler, but this is a heat of warning. You do not fight, you do not look at, you do not play around with Chaos. Chaos has nothing to do with this, and I don't even know why the heck he was mentioned in the game. There's no reason why he should have been there. He's just in like probably a few scenes or just two, and that's it. Like, he's just there. You do not fight Chaos, you do not talk about Chaos. It's like Chaos isn't even there, guys. Chaos is there just to fool the fans, and I'm really pissed off that they just have Chaos there so they could just drag some Sonic Adventure fans in there. And I'm telling you guys, the reason why the demo was a minute long is because the stages are 1 freaking minute long sometimes. Sometimes I didn't even boost because I was scared that the stage was just gonna suddenly end on me. I couldn't even savor anything. When the stages really started to get like okay, you're like, all right, maybe it might be long. Nope, it ends. But for the most part, it feels like a soulless Sonic game that is copy and paste. I swear, the second I heard a sound effect in an improper way, I was jumping on this platform and I heard like a spring sound effect or whatever, like an older Sonic game spring sound effect. I don't know why. I just got upset. I was like, why would they even take a random sound effect they didn't even create and put it in the most improper place? I'm sorry to the people that I disagreed with saying, oh, the level design was being made by the same group and stuff. It obviously, and because they worked on this for 4 years, guys, and some mobile games have more depth. The character customization is colorful, but it's clear that whoever was working on this game was being led by someone who knew what he was doing, but they didn't quite know what they were doing. And sometimes they have to make cuts and compromises to just make the level a level. I'm not trying to bring your expectations down even further, but it's just those are the obvious wrong things with it, and you shouldn't be too excited about this because I feel like whoever was working on this was just not too excited to work on this. If I could just hold one of the developers and just like continue to squeeze at his I'm sorry, but that's the most disrespectful thing to do to someone who's paying money. And you know what they tried to do is lower the price so they can justify the length of this game. It took me 3.5 hours to beat it. That's it. But I felt like it was too long. I was checking my phone for the time. I was like, how long have I been playing this? I'm sorry for all the people that believe and hope. I just didn't think we receive a backhand like this. All right, I have to admit, the 3 shadow stages, I have to admit, they were pretty cool, but they're very short. In order to transition to stages, you need to go and look on the map and find the stage, right? That transition takes 2.5 minutes. Most stages are 2 minutes and 20 seconds. If you're lucky, you get a 3-minute stage. Of course, some of the later stages, like close to the last ones, are like 6 to 7 minutes. And those were the best, but there were only 2 or 3 that lasted that long. Most stages were shorter than the transition it took to get to the stage. Just imagine that. Sometimes I had more fun with the avatar customization than an actual stage. I was excited for the avatar. I was excited for the weapons, and the weapons were pretty good. I like the drill. The drill's pretty cool how you can rev it up. And if I were to give this game a score, just to close this non-spoiler part up, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. I feel so good giving it a 6 out of 10 because there are certain aspects to this game that are promising. There's one stage in particular that I was floored. I was like, yes, this is what I want. This is awesome. There were some parts that scared me in that stage, and I love that. I love like going fast and then getting scared, and then running away from it and feeling like there's even more momentum and more reason to have momentum. And that was awesome. That was great. That was just one stage, guys, and that stage was like 4 minutes long. And also they reuse most of the stages. There were probably in total 7 stages, I think. 7 or probably 8 stages, and they reuse those stages multiple times. And that's common with Sonic, but to see Green Hill like 6 times, I'm not sure if you're a fan of Green Hill by now, but it's kind of infamous, and I kind of didn't want it to be in the game that much. 30 minutes in, I already played Green Hill like 3 times or 4 times. There's too much Green Hill. To the point, I just never want to see another Green Hill in another game ever again. If I see a Green Hill in one more Sonic game, I'll just cut it off. It's just Green Hill, and then they used other stages that were from Generations, like a lot of times. But that was a good stage. So 6 out of 10 is what I'll rate this. And now we're going to get into the spoilers. So be warned, this is the spoiler section of this review. So When you're playing as Shadow and they reveal who Infinite is, they don't really show his face. Not sure why. I get the impression that he was probably just ugly, but you don't know who this person is. He's a nobody. Shadow treats him like a nobody, and Infinite is literally just a nobody. He's no one. You never seen him in another Sonic game. He says he knows Shadow, and I got my hopes up. He's like, I know you, Shadow. I know who you are. You don't know me, but I know you. And I'm like, oh shit, who is he? Who is he? Is he Tails? Is he Tails? No, he's just no one. He's like a wolf guy. He sucks. His character's bad. His character talks trash, doesn't back it up very well. His character has a lot of power, and like every character with power, guess what they do? They say a monologue, and they walk away, and they let the main character be. Like, you're too weak to finish off. And the main character ends up beating the crap out of them later anyway, because they're too stupid to finish them off. So, you know how in the story, Sonic disappears for a little while. Yeah, he comes back like probably 5 minutes later. There's really no settling in. You don't get to see the characters get sad. Also, the storytelling, the way it was presented most of the time was just bubbles, character faces on the side, and dialogue. They were speaking. There was no emotion. They were just, oh, Sonic is there. Rouge, what do you think? Well, I think Sonic is really there. Yeah. Also, there's that much excitement in the dialogue. The writing is okay. So all the stages that they reuse Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant, and a couple others that I really don't remember from other games, but I'm pretty sure they reuse it. And Chemical Plant, they reuse like 5 or 6 times, and it's a good stage. The Chemical Plant stages are good, I have to admit that. But my favorite stage was Metropolis. That, from the sound of it, I was like, yeah, Metropolis is going to be the best stage. And it really was. I wasn't expecting that much. Like when Infinite started interfering in the Avatar's platforming and he started changing it up on you, that got me so excited. I was like, yes, this is what I want to see. This is the innovation that I came for. Not really, but I did not expect all that cool stuff. And then when the giant infinites started sprouting from the buildings, that scared the crap out of me. I at that point, I'd rather have chaos, just sprout from that. And by the end, you fight a copy of a Sonic Colors boss. But before that, its first form was an original robot. And that was a cool boss. I liked that one. Every time the robot attacks you, it transforms the platform that you're on, and you get to kind of tailor the way you move through it based on where he attacks and based on where you stop. And that was a really unique boss battle. I like that. Also, Infinite's boss battle is high paced. The first one that you go through at the beginning after Sonic's free, that was impressive. It was high speed, and you needed to dodge Infinite's illusion, virtual reality, HTC Vive cubes. If you hit the cubes, you don't simply just, ow, it hurts. You go into like a different reality. So everything with Infinite's boss battles were good, except for the last boss battle you have with them. Last boss battle was a copy and paste of Metal Sonic's boss battle that you have. And pretty much the way they changed Metal Sonic's boss battle from Generations, and I'm serious about this, all they do is make him bigger. That's it. He's just a bigger version of the Metal Sonic you fought in Generations. And also, this is another disappointing thing, is that they explain how he got all of these villains from Sonic's history. They're simply just a part of Sonic's fear, I guess, or a virtual reality imitation of Chaos, Metal Sonic, and the guy from Lost Worlds. The guy from Lost Worlds was cool. That boss battle was cool. But Chaos, all he is cannon fodder. He's treated as cannon fodder. At some point during the end, there's infinite amounts of Chaoses and Metal Sonics and the guy from Lost World. That's the only other time you see Chaos in that big group of enemies. You don't fight him. They don't really talk about him. He mentions him when he sees him right in his face. He's like, Chaos. That's it. Like, that's all Chaos means to Sonic, apparently. Sonic's personality was on point, and the way he moved, the way he talked was great. They got that good. I feel like the same people who worked on the cutscenes didn't work on the actual game. I don't know. But he was good and all, but he was just too positive. He wasn't tortured. People are saying like Eggman whooped him or something, but he didn't actually torture Sonic. He was just making him watch while he was pulling like a Walking Dead, if you know that part of the comics and the show. But here's the thing about Sonic. If you make him watch something, he's just going to make a bunch of jokes. So he's probably just sitting there like, yeah, okay, when is this going to end? This is so obviously not going to end well for you, Eggman. He's probably just thinking that the whole time. Why would you even make Sonic watch something? He's just going to make fun of it. Sonic was probably having a blast just making fun of Eggman all the time. He's Sonic. He's like eternally positive. He exuded that strong personality in the story, and I like that. He was great. Sonic was a good character. Avatar, I think he was like the most interesting because I was just in my head, I was just making up stories for him. Like, oh man, this guy, his parents, everyone that he knew died in the war, and he had this fear of fighting ever since he saw them die, and now he has to get over his fear. But he realizes he has so much power. I was just making up this whole story, and then it kind of came to fruition by the end. I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. He's cool. And also, my character ended up looking 10 times better than Infinite by the end. I was just all gold, and I had like the most kick-ass armor on, and I had like these crazy designs. There was just so much I was unlocking, and the avatar was cool, and some of the Wispens I haven't used yet. Overall, sometimes I had a good time with it, all right? I want to highlight that I did not have a bad time with this game. It's just forgettable. You know how a movie tries to be good and it tries to do all these things, but you've seen it before? Unconsciously, you've seen it before and you've experienced it. So in a way, you're just not impressed. Like, I wasn't hating it for being the same. I was just like, meh, I've literally seen the same exact boss battle before. I've seen the same exact level design, if not better, in almost every Sonic game. At certain points, Sonic 06 looked better to me because the platforming was just so short and so simple and so uninspired, man. I have to be honest, guys. I was let down even though my expectations were realistically low. I didn't think the stages would be that short. I really did. I thought they'd be at least 3 minutes long because the game was easy. You had infinite lives. The only things that got you was when you're in modern Sonic, and there was that scene. This is just an example, but there was a scene when you're escaping from Eggman's death egg and you're boosting through the grinding part of the stage, and then all of a sudden you have to hit a specific the bouncy bumper things, and the target goes by so quick that you almost get no chance to react. The first 20 minutes, my vision was freaking me out, and sometimes I would lose track of the character. There is no Supersonic in this game, except for the transformation that you get somehow. But by the end of the game, it's really good. The last boss is awesome because you fight him with all three characters, and it's the way I actually wanted a Supersonic battle to go while he's just running. I don't like when Sonic flies. It just doesn't feel like Sonic anymore. And just because he wasn't supersonic doesn't mean the boss battle at the end wasn't good. But there's no supersonic at the end. And Infamous doesn't really have a climax. You just beat him and he flies away. And I guess they're going to have a season 2 or something. But for the base game, it doesn't really throw a lot of curveballs at you. And everything just works out. There was this big scene where Infamous summons the sun to crush everyone, to burn everyone. And you had to save them. So that was a pretty cool scene. Everything about the end was cool. All the stages were longer, but most of the game, it was meh. The story was going too fast to really feel anything at all. I love the characters, but you don't really see them in action. Tails is just, he's in some cutscenes. By the way, at the end, when Tails was saying goodbye to Classic Sonic, I swear Tails was going in for a kiss. Right when Sonic disappeared, Tails just leaned forward. He just went full forward. I don't know what he expected to do to Sonic, but he didn't reach out. He just his whole body went forward. He was like, but I swear he was trying to give Sonic a kiss. Tails is gay. But it's fine. I'm just saying it confirms that he's. So I laughed at that. But that moment was supposed to be very sad. It felt very sad until that point where he literally tried to go in for a kiss. It looked so convincing. But yeah, that's the only kind of emotion that was in the storyline where Tails is feeling bad that classic Sonic has to go back. Even though modern Sonic came back, it's like Tails he was close to classic Sonic. Some characters felt just disconnected. Like Shadow, he did something sometimes. He had some cameos, but that's it. He just had 1 or 2 cameos, and it just felt like he wasn't there anymore. And like I said, there would be points where there was just dialogue and faces, and that's mostly where you see Shadow just talking to Rouge and talking to some people. He only talked to Rouge. He didn't care about anybody else. It felt too scattered to actually have an impact. And those moments would only last like 20 seconds. It was very short moments. It felt very cheap, like a very cheap experience, even though it's $40. To be honest, I feel cheated off my $40. I recommend waiting until this game is like $15, $20 at best, because that's all it's worth, like $20. But I felt like Metropolis was the only fleshed out level as well, because there were actually more cutscenes going into the gameplay, and there was more story in the Metropolis areas. While I felt like Infinite was the character that he was supposed to be, or how I kind of wanted him to be, while in the other stages, Infinite was kind of just here and there. He didn't really affect your gameplay. He was just in the cutscene sometimes. I thought he was going to pop up again after that, but he doesn't really do anything else after Metropolis. I don't know what happened. I really doubt it took 4 years to make this game. Or maybe the developers are just that bad that it takes them 4 years to make a not bad Sonic game. The music was like better than the stages. The music was good, but I can also see why some people don't like it because sometimes the music reminded me of an intro to a 90s anime. It's just a woman singing like really dramatically and a bunch of kind of punk rock. I do like how they implemented the customization into the cutscenes. That made me feel more excited, but I didn't feel closer to the characters, or I didn't feel like I was actually in the game because your character is really just referred to as Rookie and Friend. When they pull off that whole "we're friends," friends are stronger than you, Infinite. When he literally almost said those exact words at the end, I wasn't impressed by those words. I was just like, yeah, I've heard those words before in like a really bad anime. I know I said that it's meant for kids, but there are some parts where you just see dead bodies on the floor, guys. They're just dead rabbits, dead bears. They're not bloody or anything, but they're just dead. Just you actually see dead characters. Sonic, people say that he died at the beginning, but he didn't. He just got knocked out because he's Sonic. There is one thing that I wanted to say about something Sonic said, how he gets stronger every second. And that's cool. It kind of like proves my theory right, that he does and is continuing to get stronger. And Infinite actually got surprised at how strong Sonic got in the past 2 months or 6 months. I'm not sure. People said it was 6 months, but I was going to construct this review a lot better, but I feel like it should resemble the game that I play. I feel like they just didn't want to waste their time on a lot of things on this game. You won't want to revisit these bland areas. You probably want to hear the music. I think there's an option to just hear the sound, and I guess you go to sound options and then you could listen to the themes. That's it. That's the only satisfaction you'll get from this $40 game. I feel like at this point in our lives with video games, with $40, you're supposed to get a game that's longer than 3 hours, guys. I'm unimpressed. I guess it was 3, maybe 4 hours, but only because I was using my time for the customizations. Actual gameplay, 3 hours. Yeah, I'm sorry that I got your hopes up, but Sonic Mania, Sonic Generations, Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Colors are at least 4 times better than this game. They're not better, they're much better. By the way, those 2 robots from Colors are in the game, but they only show up like 2 times or 3. They don't show up at all. Like they crack jokes, but the jokes are not good. People crack jokes in this and they're not good. There's one joke where Tails was hacking into Eggman's computer and he's like, "Oh man, he has like 2 terabytes of selfies in here." And there was another one where Rouge is like, "Don't count your chickens before you break your eggs." And I think she was just referencing Eggman because I've never heard that saying before in my life. Don't count your chickens before you crack your eggs. I don't understand that. I guess I don't even understand. Please put Sonic Forces back in the vault and work on it some more and make it an actual game because it is not. I'm admitting it. I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. And at this point, I'm probably going to be more skeptical about Sonic games. If it looks good to me, I'm probably just going to wait until the review. I'm still going to have hope. But I was definitely wrong about Forces. And Sega used Chaos to get us to buy copies. Sega used that 1-minute demo to conceal that the stage was 1 minute and 30 seconds. Sega used the customizable avatar to manipulate the people that were making fan art. I just wish they worked less on those high heels and skirts and stuff and worked more on the level design and the length of the level, because the secret stages and the extra stages were actually not bad, but some of them are less than 1 minute. And it's obvious that some of them were supposed to be part of the original concept for the stage, but got cut out and called an extra stage for some reason. I would appreciate if all those stages were together and to make one good stage, but I think Generations was a lot more well-rounded than this game was for so many reasons. And I have to leave it there. 6 out of 10 for this game. And I'm just being honest. I just finished it. Also, in the credits, they don't let you skip the credits because they force you to hear that sad song. And the song is sad for no reason. Everyone's happy. Everyone's alive. I don't know, because Classic Sonic is going back to a good game because Tails wants to cheat on Sonic for Sonic. And then they make you listen to the song because they spend so much money on the soundtrack. And I couldn't skip I would love the freedom. And the ending credits is a perfect symbolism for how the whole game is. They make everything look nice. Ends up just being one thing and not very satisfying. And you're just forced to watch it. You're just forced to. It is Sonic Forces. The developers were forced to make this. You're forced to go in this one linear path. You're just forced to feel this certain way towards this certain stage. I actually didn't want to play the stage again. There was an extra stage, and I quit, guys. I quit 30 minutes in, and I wanted to quit the game because I wasn't having fun. It's one of the worst times I've had with Sonic ever. I don't know what happened, but I blame those novice developers. I blame them all. It's their doing. I might just trade in Sonic Forces because I know I'm going to want to play it again, but I want Doom more at the moment, and I'm going to buy Sonic Forces again. But I feel like I actually was cheated out of $40. I don't know if any DLC is going to help this game. I don't know if any patch can help it. It's not hate. It's the reality of this game. For the people that waited till the game came out and the patch came out, I like you guys. We're still not wrong about them not waiting for the patch and giving premature criticism. You know, I don't respect those people for giving premature criticism. Dude, I feel like 06 was better than this game because at least that story was full. At least those stages were long. There's some YouTubers that are saying they're going to beat this game full on their channel, and I just feel so bad for them, and I feel so bad for the people that are going to watch. And I feel so bad that I hyped this game up and that I indirectly made them excited for it. I've only used this word when I absolutely mean it, but Sonic Forces is boring. I was bored. I'm actually having a better time venting this stuff out than I did with the actual game. I'm sorry to let you guys down. I know some of you said if I don't like this game, you'll respect that. And I take it back. The game's not good. Chaos doesn't do anything. If you guys don't unsubscribe, maybe I'll just talk about a different game. I'm going to talk about a lot more games from now on. But thank you so much for supporting the channel, supporting the videos. I know some people out there love the game, more power to you, but man, I don't really feel anything towards it. I feel like I'd be 100 times more satisfied if I get rid of Sonic Forces for now, because it's just a bad reminder, you know? That's pretty much all it is, especially after Sega's done this. Sega has done us wrong. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I hope this game doesn't sell very well. I know it probably might sell very well anyway. I hope it sells poorly, and I hope Sega learns their lesson. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. And don't worry, this isn't a sad ending. There are more games to come. There's LA Noire. Okay, there's Doom. There's Skyrim for the Switch. This is not a loss. Still got a lot more games. And maybe further on down the line, there's going to be a good Sonic game. But for now, just continue playing Sonic Mania because that's the best we're going to get for now. See you guys next video. Later.